Romance at a glance. Romance at a glance.
What you say now?
Romance at a glance.
Go ahead, girl.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Romance at a Glance. I'm your host, Bridget. With me, as always, is my co-host, Shawnee. How you doing today, Shawnee?
Oh, I'm here hoping I don't get the Rona.
Hoping that we don't get corona living in these quarantine times. We are recording separate locations via the internet, so I can still see our fair friend, but I cannot touch you.
I cannot touch you.
I will have to just deal. When we get back together, we'll have to hug. It will be very lovely. Mm-hmm. Today we are talking about Lover Reborn, Season 2, Episode 9, Book 10 of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. Today, before we get into our jingle, I do want to mention a fun fact that I found out from our friend on Instagram, Macy, N-V-V-E-E, author at Instagram, is telling us that we might get our menage in a future book, Shawnee. Eric and Avail, the cousins of Asael, may be possibly sharing a mate.
Ooh, Bridget. Bridget, you know I love a menage. Ooh, those are my favorite. Ooh, Bridget, I'm ready.
I don't know whether it's really going to happen, because it sounds like at this point she sort of like floated it as, would you guys like to see that? So I guess there's always the possibility that it does not actually come to pass. But since we're always talking about the throuple, it won't be a throuple because they're cousins, but at least it would be a menage.
Yes.
Let's get into Lover Reborn, the book without a menage. And I don't know what your thoughts are yet, so I won't speak for us both. Let's get popping. Let's see what you think. As always in Season 2, we are talking about J.R. Ward. And aside from our fun fact about the menage, I do have two other fun facts for today. Number 1, if she could choose only one brother to be with, it would be... Who do you think?
Oh, if she could only choose one brother to be with, it would have to be... not Butch, because he's not a brother. Okay, wait for it.
Butch is a brother.
Oh, is he a brother?
He got inducted into the Brotherhood.
Oh, I guess, okay. My first reaction was to say Butch, but I think he's a little bit of a bitch for me. So I'm going to have to say, revenge isn't a brother either. I'm torn. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. John Matthew.
No, it's Zadist.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Zadist. Damn it.
Fan favorite Zadist.
The pressure, Bridget.
She said, although she did say, why would you choose one? They're like chocolates. All of them are good. And I was like, that's fair. Mm-hmm. That's fair. Our second fun fact is, and it's not really that fun because I feel like at this point most people know it, but Lassiter, since he was in this book so much, is eventually going to get his own book.
In the Black Dagger Brotherhood or the Fallen Angels?
I believe it's going to be Black Dagger Brotherhood.
Maybe that's the crossover.
Yeah, it could be. So anyway, those are our fun facts for today. I know that in past episodes we've talked a little bit about the narrator, but give the people a quick recap on your thoughts about Jim Frangione.
I mean, I guess for me, he's hit or miss. But I realized in the last 2 books that he read some of the stuff so dry that it changed the feeling of the book. I replayed what he said in my own mind as if I were reading it. And I was like, I would have read this completely differently. I would have read this as more of a romantic statement. I would have read things like with a much more emotion if I were actually had a book in my hand. So I don't know. 1 out of 5, I would probably give him a 3, and I don't like, and this is probably not his choice, but when he goes into the Boston accent sometimes for Butch, which is a completely new development. They've only done it in like the last couple books. Before that, Butch was read super straight, and
because it always was like that written. There was always like a few lines here and there where she would like write it out as if you were speaking in a Boston accent.
Yeah, but he never read it that way. It's almost like a couple books ago, she was like, yo, he's supposed to be from Boston. And then they made sure they did it, Also, whoever is editing the audio is terrible. They're not a good audio editor. There's all these like little mistakes happening. The chapters, when a chapter ends, say it's like and Xhex ran through the door. Chapter 2. Like that's literally how the next chapter gets introduced, and it's that aggressive. So I do think with books of this caliber, there should be much more of a close eye on the audio and how it's being done.
Okay, I totally agree. For those of you who are just joining us, well, hello. Welcome to Romance at a Glance. Shawnee is an avid listener of the audiobooks, and I do not listen to audiobooks almost ever. And I am more of a tactile reader if I can, and an e-reader if I cannot get the tactile book in my hands. Also for this podcast, I find that the e-reader is nice because then I can highlight and remember all of the plot points, because this book was like 570 pages.
Oh, gosh.
There was a lot going on, so I had to take a lot of notes. So if you guys ever are curious about that, I think I put like 150 notes on Goodreads. So in case you're curious, they're there for you. Let's quickly cover the cover page. By cover page, I mean cover art. It's cool. I can talk. What were your thoughts? I liked the colors. I thought it was a very pretty color scheme.
I did too. I guess sometimes you imagine them much more differently than the cover art portrays. And so I don't picture Tohr like the cover art. But
no, I always imagine him being older, even though they have said numerous times in these books that everyone like matures, and then their maturity sort of arrests in that like late 20s is, early 30s age. So he probably does look like that, but I always imagine him being in his 40s.
That's what I imagine too. But I mean, I love a man in his 40s. I love a silver fox. He
does have a stripe. They said he had like a stripe of what, white hair because of because of the trauma of Wellesley dying.
So, I mean, so I like this. I imagine more John Matthew or somebody like this, the character on.
I love a clenched jaw. So I'm okay. Yeah. I don't feel.
I mean, he's cute. He looked like a military boy who could get it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
He can get it. He can get it.
I'm not complaining.
It does not speak to the pain of Tohr or the angst of this book, but he can get it. That's a fair statement. That boy can get it.
Yes, hashtag he can get it.
Okay, so where we left off in the last book, who was the last book about?
I don't know, because we were crying that Blay and Quinn weren't next, because we thought they were next, and that they weren't next. Oh my God,
you guys, I had the saddest revelation. So I was thrilled that Blay and Quinn were going to be our next book that we were going to be reading and reviewing. And then I, for some reason, like double checked and realized that in my notes in our spreadsheet, I had accidentally not written down Lover Reborn as an option in the order that we were reading. And now we had to read this book. But really, I wanted to be reading Lover at Last, and I can't start Lover at Last till after we do the podcast because otherwise too many things happen and I start getting confused, and then I can't keep my thoughts straight for you guys. And to say I was devastated would be an understatement. I was just so mad.
When you told me that, I was like, no.
So disappointed. I was so disappointed. Anyways, we're going to get through this book. It's all going to be okay. There were some good things about it. Okay, so where we left off last time was Payne's book with Manny. So at the end, Payne is okay. Everyone is happy. No one has come with Payne from the other side.
Okay, so wait. I'm going to stop you real quick. Because Jim Frangione says her name is No'one. Right?
What?
Which I'm assuming is J.R. Ward's pronunciation. Her name is No'one and not No'one, which is weird because as I am reading it, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, how do you spell No'one? Because I feel like you would spell it No One or whatever. And when I was doing my notes, I was like, is it O-N-E or O-W-N? Like No'one or whatever. So then when I was looking on Goodreads, everybody was confused. Like, how the heck do you say this? Or whatever. But because I'm hearing it the whole time, her name was No'one.
No.
Yeah.
Hard pass, Shawnee.
Listen,
why would he rename her if her name wasn't No One? What's the point of renaming her if it's No'one? No'one is just a perfectly respectable, weird name of this society. No, I understand why you would want to rename someone whose name is No One, because it's pretty hard to be like, no one, I want to come lick your clit or something. But like, No'one, okay, that could just be one of these weird. Her daughter's name is Xhexina.
But I thought No'one was literally like no one in the old language. Wait, did you know that
Xhex is pronounced Hex?
No.
What's happening?
No. Bridget, stop rewriting my life now.
I'm never going to call her that. I don't care. I don't care. It's Xhex. I don't care.
All right, wait, okay. Are you looking at J.R. Ward's website right now for all the pronunciations? Because it exists. I'm
looking through the chats right now, and it seems to be that people think her name is Hex. Don't like it. Okay. Score, for which we agreed on, and throw, which I'm fine with. But where's No One? Show me No One.
Okay, so I'm just going off of the pronunciations from Jim Frangione. So at some point in the book, somebody corrected all of his pronunciations because he switched them. And Xhex is definitely Xhex. Zadist is definitely Zadist. They don't say sadist in the audio.
Really?
Yeah, in the audio. I mean, I'm not an expert or anything. And No One is No'one.
I don't like that at all.
I hate to be the bearer of this news for you, Bridget.
I literally don't accept it.
I'm looking at the glossary on J.R. Ward's website right now because.
And what does it say? Tell me what it says.
I'm trying to find it actually, but like.
Oh, is you honestly, like, this book makes no sense. First of all, tell me what you think. I was going to talk about this way later, but let's just dive in. Tell me what you think about the name Autumn.
First of all, terrible name. Terrible name. First of all,
it's so bad.
First of all, I was like,
I apologize in advance if your name is Autumn. You're not terrible. It's just a terrible name for her character.
Yes.
It doesn't fit into like the nomenclature of the world. Like, I think she should have just said No One. What's wrong with No One?
Like, my thing was, okay, that renaming somebody who's chosen their name, I think is a bullshit move.
It's rude as fuck.
If she went to you and was like, hey, can you give me a new name? I think I've outgrown this name and I want you to give me one. Then I'm like, cool. But if you're just like, hey, I can no longer call you the name that you want to be called, and I'm just going to make up a name for you. You know what? Autumn is my favorite season. I'm going to name you that now. Hey, girl, now you Autumn. Hey, girl, I just glowed you up, girl. I just glowed you up. Look at this.
Because it's not like he gave her a nickname. Like, oh, your name is No One? Okay, I'm going to call you, like, Wonderful or some shit. Yeah, or, like, Nunu or whatever. Because that would have been fun. Yeah, I just think I get what he was saying, which is like, you were hiding who you are, and you aren't no one to me. You're a person, and I want you to, like, be a person again. And she didn't want to use her old name, and so, like, okay, sure. I get where, like, it was going. But if her name is known, then, like, who the fuck cares? Leave it. It only makes sense if it's No One, okay? This whole plot line is garbage if it's not No One.
It's weird because even saying like No'one is like it was like difficult when I was trying to say it. But like, I don't know. When they started calling her Autumn, like halfway through the story, it threw me every time. I was like, who's Autumn? Who's this Autumn person again? Oh yeah, okay.
No, totally.
I thought No'one was way more interesting. I liked the name, and I didn't like the renaming. But the only reason the only plus side of the name Autumn for me was symbolic of her journey to where she was, because I felt like when she got kidnapped by the Sympath, that was the spring. Then she killed herself and went to with the Chosen up there, and was it the Sanctuary? And that was the summer, And now this is a new part of her life, and I felt like, okay, she's getting a new chance, and this is Autumn. That was how I took the name, thing. But I hate to see what winter looks like for her. Hopefully it's cozy. Ooh, what do you call that when you get cold and you get a snuggle buddy? What do people over in the cold weather call that? Like a cuddle buddy?
A snuggle buddy?
Yeah, there's like a word for it when you like get a boo just for the wintertime.
Oh. I should know this because I used to have one of those, but I don't remember what they're called.
I'm like, you definitely had to have one of these.
I had a few. There were a few winters that I needed someone to help me stay warm and occupy my time when it was dark outside from 4 p.m. until 8 a.m.
I never knew what this was called because I've only ever lived in Los Angeles and Miami. Like, there's no, most of the time you're like, get off me, I'm sweating.
Oh my God. I have to tell you this one bougie thing that we just got, and then we have to talk about this book, Shani. Okay. Me and my husband got those like water cooling mat things that you put over your mattress so that you can chill your mattress down so that you don't get hot while you're sleeping. Because I get so hot, I wake up sweating all the time. And now I sleep in a blissful, chilled state, and it's wonderful. I never wake up sweaty, and I sleep like a dead person again, and it's fabulous.
Life goals,
Life goal. It's so bougie, and we did it. And
also, I'm going to need you to send me a link to that.
Yeah, they're crazy expensive, but it's been worth it so far. We've only had it for like a week. Okay, let's talk about this book. So where we left off last book, No'one had come down with Pain to serve her, and it turns out that we find out that No'one is Xhex's mom, and that obviously Tohr was with her when she gave birth and like took care of her for that year. And now we are in Tohr's book. So the beginning of the book picks up with Tohr has in the last book has basically did his first feeding from Selena and sort of decided, I have to eat and be alive so that I can get revenge on the Lessening Society on the behalf of Wellesley and the undead son. Except for then, in the beginning of this book, he's like not eating or feeding again. So I'm like, didn't we just cover this the last book where we said that you need to be feeding so you're strong enough to fight? So in this book, it starts out with him like basically like running himself to death. John Matthew and Quinn are like worried he's not going to make it back.
Yeah.
And he's not feeding. So that's where we start out the book. There were a couple of things at the beginning of the book that I was slightly shocked at. One of which is that, did you catch the line where it turns out that Fritz was the Dogen in No'one's household when she was in the Glimera, like before she got taken by the Sympath?
Yeah.
He was that Dogen from her past. And I was like, full circle. I totally didn't catch that.
I didn't catch that the first time. I didn't either. At all. Mostly because I think I liked it. Pay attention too much to the Dogen.
Yeah, totally. I also thought it was pretty sad in one of the scenes, Tohr is looking around and he's looking at like Mary and Jane, and he's like, why the fuck didn't Wellesley get saved? Like, all these bitches got saved by some shiny magic. Why was I the only one who lost their female?
I think that shit is hilarious when he says that. He's like, she's a damn ghost.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? That's justified, though, because that is some bullshit that he's the only one that didn't get their female saved.
So I think there's a whole bunch about, like, Tohr's storyline that's a bunch of bullshit, right? One, the fact that Wellesley didn't get saved. Like, JR put her there just to use her as a tool to get us in our feels or whatever. She didn't get saved. And she's in this in-between because Tohr won't let her go, right? Which I think is some bullshit, because who dies and their family or loved ones just let them go? Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody.
Yeah, but usually in their society, they have like the fade ceremony. And so they're literally like, they're doing the whole ritual to acknowledge the death. Because I think the problem isn't that he didn't like let her go in the sense of like, I still love her and like, I don't want to replace her with someone else. But he like wasn't even saying her name or he was like speaking of her in the present tense.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even he hadn't even gotten to the point of like, she is dead. Like, that's where he needed to get to. She has died, and I must give away her things and have a fade ceremony. Because that's really the end of the book. It's like, he just, like, it takes him fucking 500 pages to get there. Yeah. But literally, he has to just acknowledge that she's dead, give away all the things she'll never use again, and have an actual fade ceremony where he says goodbye to her. And then she's fine. Also, the sad part of that whole fade ceremony, by the way, is like, you know, the branding afterwards, like, of the name on the... that was so sad. Oh, God. I was like, that was so no. Sad. Oh, God. And there's like a part of me, though, I did like that they didn't make No'one or Autumn. I liked that he didn't, like, bond with her. They didn't rewrite how bonding works, per se, like, you know, even though that they're getting together. And I did feel like there was this weird kinship with her, as if, like, if he had never met Wellesley, right, that he would have married her, maybe. He might have married her alright from the past, or he might have bonded with her in the past. But I think it's like bonding is like, once that ship sails, it sails. Like, and you probably have, like, you know, 10 soulmates on the planet, and whoever hits you first gets the ride, you know. Gets it. You get it. You get it, you know. So I did kind of like that you could speculate that in the back of your mind, that maybe, you know, in another alternate reality they could have been, you know. I agree. Did you catch the line where Tohr says that males, even bonded ones, sometimes sleep around? Yes. But I was never one of those. And I was like, no, they fucking don't, says 9 other books. Yes. I didn't like that. I did not like that at all. Let's not rewrite history. Once they're bonded, that is it. They don't cheat, and the brothers don't ever cheat. And even when they've talked about it, like, are you cheating? They weren't ever cheating. I thought that was a rewrite. I didn't like it. I thought it put it in there just to justify some things that are coming up or talked about. I was like, no, JR. Yeah. Not today. Not today, JR. We ain't doing this today. Okay. Not today, I'm getting through quarantine right now, JR. Yes. Okay. Okay. Don't fuck with my quarantine vibes. Okay. Yeah. This book was definitely, I feel like, too sad to be reading during quarantine. Like, the only movies and books I've been reading have been very happy and, like, very fluffy ones, except for this. And I think this was a little heavy for quarantine. It was a bit heavy. I was like, bitch, don't kill my vibe, man. This is not how. Yeah. I was. I had so many feelings about this book. Can you please talk to me a little bit about your feelings about how Tohr did not deserve her? Because he was a colossal asshole to her, like 5 different times in this book, where he absolutely, like, lost his shit on her. Like, the first time when she's in the pool and he accuses her of, like, coming down to, like, trap a man and that she's a whore and all this other stuff. And I'm like, she's under a hood head to toe and never speaks to anyone. Like, you need to jump the fuck back. But, like, I honestly feel like I just wish this book had been different, because it makes sense to me that he was, like, not able to acknowledge his feelings for her. But he was, I don't know. I feel like his affection for her was very much like aftermath, not on purpose ever. Yeah. Until the very last thing he said to her. Bridget, everything for me about this book with that couple entirely. I love the John Matthew Xhex storyline, but we'll get to that later. But for their storyline, everything felt contrived to me. Everything didn't feel justified in what they were doing. The way Tohr kept reacting to her was so aggressive and over the top. And I don't really I do love an alpha male. And if I specifically read a book where I know the alpha male is going to be an asshole and that's going to be the thing, like, I'll accept it. But sometimes, like, I don't. And I don't expect that from Tohr. And I don't expect in these books, like, to have this character who is almost at all turns being an asshole, you know, and then at the end they fall in love. Like, it's almost like I'm watching her go into an abusive relationship, you know, where someone is like
treating her poorly or love bombing her and going back and forth, and she's at the depths of despair, and then all of a sudden it's okay again. And I mean, I did like at least at the very end, you know, she was like, fuck off, you know, when he came.
Yeah, she's like the circle is complete. Like
complete.
You can back the fuck out of this house and go. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, at least she had that moment. But like, and I did accept like the idea that she was doing penance, continually doing penance, you know. But it was just too much, and it didn't make sense. And then when he when she has her kneading, and he goes in there and he's like flipping off, and then he drugs himself, which that visual in my mind was hilarious, of him just like staggering both legs and being like,
so hard. Like, if you weren't gonna be there for her, then why go in at all?
Yeah.
Like, he went in to just yell at her, and I'm not saying he was wrong, because it's fucking crazy that she didn't get the drugs, but and she even says later, like, oh, I was trying to punish myself. I did think I deserved that. So, like, that's fine. But he was like, first of all, I totally agree with you that this is totally against his character in all the other books. And obviously he's in a lot of pain, but I don't think that, like, fundamentally makes you a completely different person. Like, he's always been very caring and very, like, I don't know, very, just, like, worthy. And, like, everyone looks to him and respects him.
He was a male of worth, Bridget. He was a male of worth.
Yes, he was a male of worth. And in this book, he was just, first of all, so dumb.
He was a pab.
So dumb. Because Lassiter literally told you the problem. Mm-hmm. He's an angel. He literally told you how to solve it. And you took a year to set them free?
Pab.
Like, I would have preferred if Lassiter had said something like, I think she's the key to letting them go. And he was like, I'm not ready for that, but I'm going to let them go in my own. And then he, like, at the beginning of the book, like, or like maybe in the middle, like, gave away her stuff, packed up the house, like, said goodbye, had the fade ceremony, like, and then like, deepened his relationship with her later, because it felt so, like, honestly, I just kept being like, you're a fucking idiot. That's a whole book. I kept being like, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And he even says, I know I'm the problem. Well, fucking fix it then, bro. You're about to trap your wife and unborn kid in this land because you aren't man enough to just fix it. Like, I did not. That annoyed me so much.
Yeah. Because I really like his character. I forgot this book existed, but once I did, I was like, okay, I'm on board for it. And then I just felt like they rewrote, you know, like, who he was. And I know I'm trying to allow, right, for growth of character, or for people to be, you know, flawed, and for, honestly, things to manifest in a way you never thought they did, because now you're hitting a new trigger that you never hit before.
Right. Right.
But I don't think there's any part of Tohr that would be so vicious, you know, to No'one.
Yeah.
Like
I could see the first, like, I was okay with the first scene, like, when he flips out seeing her naked, and he's just like, she's so naked. That was, like, his response. Like, oh, my God, she was really fucking naked. Like, I can understand that, where he just, like literally loses, because he realizes he's looking at her, and he just, like, loses his fucking mind for a second, because he doesn't, like, he's so freaked out. But, like, that happens too many times. Yeah. One time, okay. And I can understand him being, like, reticent with her and, like, standoffish, and, like, I was okay with, like, the slow steps that they took together. Like, that I thought was fine. Like, but yeah, I just didn't like how he was about the one scene I did like, which I felt like at the very end, he was like, and maybe that was her point, was that, like, when he finally said goodbye to Wellesley, he was finally, like, Tohr again, I guess. Because he did say, this is one of my favorite lines, he said, it's hard when you've loved one person with everything you've got and she's gone, and someone else comes and treads all over her territory in your heart. And I thought that was very lovely, because I do think that's true. Like, when you've reserved that part of yourself or someone, and then someone new comes in. That is a very sad and scary thing sometimes.
I thought that it would have been the slow burn, like what you're talking about. The slow burn for me would have been better. I liked that No'one got the dress and she was cleaning it for him and bringing it back to him. I thought that was a really great nod to Wellesley, you know, and I thought they could have had a lot of these little moments or whatever that really, you know, built it up. And then she was slowly getting under his skin. You know, you watch that. I could even see him fighting that and being like, you know, a little bit about that. But like, I guess just the trajectory they took to me was like a bull in a china shop. Like it just crushed everything that you thought you knew about these characters, and it just made you feel like you know how I feel. And I don't like when books make me feel like I'm not an intelligent human being. And this book for me made me feel like I was stupid at some points. I was just like, I can't with this.
And how did you feel? I felt like none of the steps they took together were, except for her offering to feed him, I didn't feel like any of the steps were him choosing her. I thought they were all him trying to let go of Wellesley.
Well, yeah.
And no one accepting that and being okay with that. But at the same time, that didn't make me feel like they were in love. Like, that didn't make me feel excited about them or excited that he was like, or like, it didn't give me that like squee, like, oh, he's falling in love with her. Cause he was like, I'm going to just grit my teeth and bear this. And I was like, okay, well, that's no fun for anyone. Like, I don't want to read about that sex. That sounds terrible.
I imagine it being like this old staunch priest, like falling in love with this old staunch nun. Like, I don't know. Like, that's how I felt about them, like at every turn. I think that everything he did was to try to get, you know, Wellesley out of the fade. And then, of course, he throws that in her face later on. He's like, you know, I'm just using you. And you know.
I know. And I know you're in love with me. You say it every night in your dreams. And I was like, harsh, Tohr. Another aggressively harsh moment.
I was like, yo, man, there's no coming back from that. There's some things you say.
Right?
And then that's it. Like, you know, you put a period.
That was fucked up.
You put a period on what we could have had, you know? And so I just, oh, man, like he did do that. And I just felt that I mean, I feel like I'm being redundant here in the fact that I didn't like him. I didn't like Tohr.
All right. Well, let's just move on and close out their chapter. What did you think about yet another magical save of a female character, this time by Lassiter, going up to negotiate with the creator on behalf of No'one, a.k.a. Autumn?
Okay, so I'm completely over magical saves. I don't like that being used in any story. I don't like when you can write yourself into a corner and then just use magic and things that are not seen to fix it. It's like, for me, one of the laziest things you can do in a story. And I think it completely undermines the intelligence of your reader at all times. So, sorry, not sorry, JR.
I would have been down for it if we got to go with Lassiter.
Yeah.
Like, if we had gotten a chapter to go with Lassiter and we get to see the negotiation and see what he's willing to give up. Because part A, I really liked Lassiter. I thought he was sassy. And I feel like that would have like even deepened how much I'm starting to like his character and would have given us more insight. Plus we would have met the creator, which would have been cool. Like I if it's going to happen, I want to be there. Like I want to be in on it.
Yeah.
We get to be in everyone else's minds. We had to deal with Fury's wizard for a fucking book. Like, oh God, if it's gonna happen, I want to be there. And I was not happy that we didn't get to be there, and that it happened so quick. She poofs away, and then she just poofs right back. 10 minutes later, it's like poof.
I felt like I wanted to see Tohr deal with that way longer than 10 minutes. Like,
yeah. And I wanted to see him, like, not lose it this time.
Yeah.
And, like, stand up as a person and just still be good.
Like, I don't know. Part of me is, well, I don't know, Bridget. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, really?
What the fuck? What the fuck?
What the fuck? like, I don't know. It's just, yeah. I wanted...
You know what, Shani? We wanted a lot of things. You know what? I need a moment to wash away the taste of Tohr and No'one / Autumn's kind of romance. No'one / No'one. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to jump right into John Matthew and Xhex.
Oh, thank God.
Quinn and Blay. Score and Layla. There's so much else happening in this book to be happy about. So let's take a break and then dive back in.
Hello, best friends. Thank you for being loyal listeners of Romance at a Glance. We're so happy to have you. If you'd like to support us further, head over to Patreon, where you can become one of our patrons. We've got a lot of great perks, such as merch and a super secret discussion group where Bridget and I talk to you directly about all things romance and all things nasty. So come on over. And now, back to our show.
Okay, welcome back. I feel refreshed and ready to talk about some of our fan favorites, John Matthew and Xhex.
Thank
Shani,
goodness.
were you happy that they were featured again because they literally weren't in the last book at all? Or were you sad that they had to go through this marital struggle?
I was so happy, Bridget. I just wanted more of them in general. I was like, don't ever not put them in a book, even if it's just a chapter of some banging. I need my fix of John Matthew and Xhexanya. You know what I'm saying? That's how I felt. That's how I felt about it. And I felt a little bit of redemption from the Tohr storyline with them because theirs felt less contrived of a situation. It felt like something that could really happen. You know, and so, and even though I was frustrated, it didn't feel like I was just like treated like an idiot, like this, you know, that I was just have to buy something because it was written. And so I was there for it. I was all the way there for it, Bridget.
I was also there for it. I have another favorite line. And she said, but she feared that once your name was on the back of a male, or worse, a full-blooded warrior male, things changed. Expectations shifted. And she also talks about how, like, maybe John Matthew literally could not have helped flipping out because of the bonded male, and that this, like, human skin was just covering the animal underneath. And I was like, this is exactly why I forgive so much shit in Fair and Horrible. Because they're not human. They're just not, it's not a human, man. It's an animal. They can't help it. And my favorite thing was, okay, so, like, just to catch everybody up, at the beginning, they're fighting, and they're fighting separately, but then John Matthew, like, ends up over by them and is helping fight the Lessers over there, and he, like, literally loses his mind. He goes, like, full caveman, and he screams at her that she's injured and she needs to go home, and she's like, I can still fight.
Stabbed in the chest.
Yeah, and he's like, you need to go. You're being stupid. Like, and all the other brothers are like, whoa, too far, bro. And she's just like, fuck you. You would never say this to them. And this is some, like, chauvinistic bullshit.
Truth.
And they get this massive fight. So then they make up from that fight. And then they're in Wrath's study. And she's saying, hey, I'll go after the band of bastards during the day because I can go out during the day and I can find them for you and blah, blah. And no one says yes. Everyone just looks at John Matthew and she's like, what the fuck? You're going to look at him? Oh, hell no. I'm the fuck out of here. And I was like, yes. Yes, girl. You tell those motherfuckers what it is. And I just, like, I think it is such a, like, happy that it's happening because, like, she's really the only female that it could happen with because she's the only fighter except for Pain. And I feel like Pain is kind of in, like, this weird other class where she's half deity and, like,
she's in Pain is, like, in the, like, bitch can't tell me nothing. Like,
right, exactly.
Class.
Like, she's in, right. Like, she's and also, like, Manny isn't in the Brotherhood, so he's not in those meetings, so no one is there to, like, look for. I mean, I guess they could look at Vicious, maybe. But one thing I did think was interesting about this book, which one of the reviewers I was reading commented about, was that Pain isn't in this book at all.
No.
But you would think, being the only other female warrior, she at least would have, like, been mentioned or had a conversation or stuck up for Xhex, but she's, like, not one single line of dialogue.
I felt like they couldn't put pain, because then this storyline would have taken a different shift. Like if there was another woman in that room to be like, yo, what the fuck? Like then you would have had to have more conversation about this. You couldn't have got these moments where nobody stood up for Xhex in that room.
Right.
And you're just like, oof.
Yeah.
You know? And everybody's looking at John Matthew, and she's looking at John Matthew like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do, fool? And he's just like, you know what? I can't, I'm mute. I can't speak right now. And
yeah, when he like grabs her arm and she's like, you better let me go before I make you let me go. I was like, oh boy. Oof. Oh boy.
There was a scene I liked in the beginning when she does get injured and they take her back to the hospital and she's in the room. And while she's laying in the room, she wakes up and he's not in there. And she goes into this like overthinking spiral. And I love it because I feel like that overthinking spiral was so realistic. She's like, are we even a couple? Are we even together? Is this going to be right? He's not even here. He doesn't care for me. And then she walks out the door and he's like laying there on the floor.
And she's like, I'm pretending like I'm not searching for my mate. But she's clearly looking for him and he's right there.
You know, and then as soon as she sees him, she was like, oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You know, and I feel like there's just moments, like I've had moments like that where I'm like, in my mind, just circling like, ooh, he gonna get it. I'm so mad. I'm like, and then like 1 second it's like deflated. You're just like,
yeah. And then later, I mean, she does the same thing later when Wrath comes. So a lot of things happen, but Wrath eventually asked her to come and find the band of bastards for them during the day. And it turns out that John Matthew was the one that was like, hey, we should get Xhex to do this. She's the only one who can. And she like stomps into their room and he's like, why aren't you happy about this? I thought this is what you wanted. She's like, why would he be happy? You're not bonded to me anymore. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, you're offering to let me go into danger, so we clearly aren't bonded anymore. And he's like, you're so stupid. I want you back. I'm trying to show you through actions that I mean what I say, that I mean that I trust you, and I mean that you're strong enough, and I think that you're the baddest of the bitches. And that revelation, of course, came about because of the shootout at Assails where Wrath gets injured. Tell the people what happened, Shawnee.
Ooh, at Assails, when they go to meet Assail, and then all hell breaks loose when everybody's getting shot up, which I think is really Assail, just in general. Let me back up a little. That character, Assail's character to me is so great. I love that character.
I'm excited about him. He reminds me
a little bit of like Revenge. It's like I get a revenge fix from him a little bit. Where like I like,
but like more like Rico Suave, like more like cultured, like and less gangster, more just
it's like a metrosexual gangster, and I love this like feeling.
Yes. I'm stoked about him.
I like the whole time when he's like, well, I told us to go in the living room because that's bulletproof glass, but y'all ain't listening to me right now. And the whole time they're like, we're going to kill you. And he's like, that's fine. You can kill me. But then I can't tell you which car is bulletproof. Like the whole
right. Yeah, he's so calm. He's just
like, unbothered. And I
so unbothered.
So so Wrath and them, they go to Assails to have that meeting with him, and then Score and the band of bastards. Like there's a sniper who shoots him. I forget what that guy's name is, but who shoots Wrath like in the neck or whatever. And then they proceed to like open fire on the house. And all the brothers are inside. And now that Wrath is injured, they can only take him out physically. He can't dematerialize, which I'm always slightly iffy on this dematerializing.
It's because the dematerializing, they always talk about how you have to be calm and you have to have like consciousness. So, like, you can't relax enough and be calm enough when blood is, like, gurgling out of your neck. Like, your heart, like, it's, like, physically. Also, I think they mentioned in one of the books that, like, it might make the injury worse or something. But I think mostly it's about that you have to be able to, like, you have to get your shit together. And if you're, like, bleeding out and you can't breathe, like, you're not going to be able to do it.
Which I am of the mind that when Wrath knew that going to these places was going to be dangerous, and they talked about Assail being like, a more dangerous place and what they were going to take to go there and that sort of thing. And I'm just shocked that they didn't have more security. They didn't have like the team that goes in and then they have their own outer perimeter security situation. That to me, I'm like, this is the king of your entire race. Like,
Yes. I mean, they said the reason they only brought that many was because they didn't want it to look like they were scared, and they wanted it to look like an unthreatening visit as much as possible.
But then you put hidden people.
Yeah,
people
put them in the woods.
See.
I hear you.
You know
I hear you. It was silly.
And then Quinn with his like whole like he got an accommodation for attacking Score and so that Wrath could get away.
Well, you gotta tell the people. You didn't even tell the people what happened.
Okay, sorry. I'm terrible at storytelling, Bridget. Here we go. Okay, so Wrath gets hit. All right, the house is in a full-on assault. Seo tells them, like, look, there's a van in the garage. If you can get there, it's bulletproof. You can get out. You know, but at this time, Score is like, oh man, the only way they can get out is to the garage. So he parks his little ass right next to the garage. But Quinn is like, oh man, Score is going to be next to the garage. I just know it. I feel it in my bones. So I'm going to go out there and attack him when Wrath is leaving so that he can't get Wrath. Because Quinn has bright ideas. Like, he's not part of a team and a unit that is making plans. He decides to go rogue on his own. Okay? It worked out, but I don't
Shawnee, that's not what happened. What book are you reading? Well, he didn't decide to go rogue on his own. That was the only option left. The rest of the brothers were pinned down, fighting lessers in the city, and he was the only one who could go out. And so John Matthew and him, he was like, I have to go. I'm the only one who can go. And so he went. It's not like he just left by himself and went rogue. You're leading the listeners astray.
No, I listened to this book. But at the end of the day, like, they made an executive decision for Quinn to go out there by himself with the entire band of bastards. Okay, and I was like, what you doing, fool? Like, first of all, they talk about Score as if he's a beast, like beast mode. Yeah. Quinn is no beast mode, okay? Like,
yeah, he is.
He's not beast mode like Score is beast mode. No, he's not.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
I'll fight you, Bridget.
Score is hundreds of years old. He's hundreds of years of being a scary mofo, for sure.
He is. The bloodletter. I mean, Quinn is no bloodletter. You know, like, he was not raised by... Like, he's a softie.
No, he was not.
Compared to Score. And so, like, him going out there to do that.
That's why he gets his ass beat.
He got his ass. He got his face crushed in. Like, he got his face crushed in. But I a little bit was like, I was like, I don't know about this. This seems like a suicide mission that you're on right now.
Well, he did say the reason, like, I can go because I don't have a mate. Like, you can't go. You have a mate. Like, you're important. I'm not. No one, like... I mean, part of it is that he doesn't even understand his, like, self-worth. Like, he has no self-worth. He doesn't think he doesn't think anyone cares, really, because he has no family. He's never been a part of his own family. And so he
got rid of Blay.
And he's an idiot. Yeah, for sure. And he's an idiot. Part A. Yeah. And yeah. So anyway, so he does save Wrath by tying up Score so that Score can't shoot Wrath and kill him. And then he gets the accommodation later for saving Wrath's life. I thought that scene was beautiful when everyone's clapping for him and he's so, like, happy but also, like, flustered and embarrassed, and then he's staring at Blay, and I was like, oh, stare at Blay some more.
I do like that in this book there was, like, between Blay and Quinn, finally, like, they are just acknowledging the feelings now. It's not no more of this, like, angsty teenage bullshit, you know?
Yeah. What about that scene where Blay is yelling at John Matthew for leaving Quinn behind? And I was like, that's a repeat of their book, too. Yeah. And Quinn says, I love you. And he means to Blay. And John Matthew's like, I love you, too. I'm sorry. And I was like... John Matthew, stop cock-blocking right now. Get out of the middle, bro.
We're shipping the Quay. Where we want the Quay love. I thought that shit was when John Matthew was like, "Oh, I love you too, bro." I was like, "Oh god." But what about the scene though, Bridget? When Blay tells Saxon that he's still in love with Quinn, and then with no lube, just
yes. Get him.
butt flex him, just bends him over and it's like, and Saxon's just like, I'm with it. Let's go. What you got? Like Saxon's popping off at the mouth, and then Blay's like, oh, you want me? We gonna do this? Like, and I was like, this must feel really painful, but for the spirit of what the scene is, I was like, no lube. That's gonna be painful.
I mean, they're vampires, Shawnee. They're vampires.
So what? Do they
They're not human beings.
Do they
They're vampire. We don't know. They are vampires. They are vampires.
Listen,
they were fucking earlier that day, so maybe he's still all ready to go.
Ooh, Bridget. Bridget. All of the
I don't even care. I don't even care. Also, they heal in a snap. So who cares? They're vampires.
For the spirit of the scene, I was there for it. I was like, this shit is hot.
Here, I got the quote. That was one of my favorite quotes. It says, okay, so to put it in context, this was right after Blay realizes that Layla has gone into her kneading and that Quinn is going to service her and it's going to result in a young. And Blay thinks that Quinn is going to end up mating Layla because they have yet to have a conversation about that. And so he tells Saxton that he's still in love. And Saxton's like, did you think you weren't? And I was like, Saxton, I love you. And then Blay says, if you don't get the fuck out of my way, I'm going to bend you over that desk of yours. And Saxton's like, prove it. And I was like, he gonna prove it. He gonna prove it. Get it. Yeah, I was fucking there for it.
Oh, God. Yeah, I was there for it.
And then at the end, Quinn is like, he's like, okay, enough. I'm sick of myself. Like, I'm gonna grow the fuck up. Blay, you better get ready because I'm coming for you now. And I was like, he gonna get it. He gonna get it.
This scene is so hot. I mean, you a little bit threw it off of me with the whole truffle butter situation, but I'm back.
I mean, honestly, Shawnee, they're vampires. They heal. Quinn healed a literal ass whooping from Score where his face was unrecognizable in 6 hours. So like going in with no lube, he's already healed from that by the second thrust. That's just how I think.
Oh, wouldn't that be so nice, Bridget?
It would be great. Everything would be great. I've said this before. If I could heal like a vampire, I would have 40 children. I wouldn't give a fuck. I'd be like, yo, Hubs, give me a little sip of that blood. Get me back to my old self.
Get me back in fighting form.
Yeah. Eat a sandwich and I'd be fucking fine. It'd be great.
Oh, God.
All right. So let's quick wrap up John Matthew and Xhex. So where we just left off was that John Matthew basically realizes, oh, I let Quinn go out into danger knowing he might die. And, like, the only reason I'm not doing it for Xhex is because she's female. And I'm, like, treating that like it's a disability, like something's wrong with her, and that's wrong. So he basically puts into motion inactions that he's willing to let her be in harm's way. He goes to Wrath, says she should hunt them. It's, like, his idea. And then when he finds out that Layla fed Score, he's like, they told me specifically not to do this, so please don't tell the Primeval and the King. But Layla has fed him and can find him for you, so go and use her. And, like, she realizes that he's putting her before everyone else. And I liked that, like, once he got halfway through the book and realized he was a fucking moron, he really, like, stepped up. He was like, look, this feels like a booty call. Like, I'm your Hellrin. I want to be with you every day. I don't want to only have these moments. Like, and I'm going to show you through actions, not just words. I'm going to show you that I mean it. And then at the very end of the book, they say something like he opens himself up. Like, so he takes down all of his emotional walls so that she can read his whole grid and she can, like, read the resolve and the love and that he's serious. And I liked that. First of all, I think it's fun that Xhex gives zero fucks about reading people's emotional grids. Like, Revenge is always trying not to, because I feel like when he does, he's immediately like in Evil Town and he wants to manipulate them. But Xhex is like constantly reading everyone just to test out the water, see where everyone's at, which I like about her. But I was down. I was really happy because I felt like it was a justified storyline, like you said, and I felt like it evolved in a very believable manner over the course of the year.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't get solved in one day. It was like many actions over time, and then they like worked their way back to each other, which I liked.
I like that a lot. I did, again, think it was super believable. I did like that it took a year and that JR let this book breathe. A bit more. Some of them we found are like happening over the course of 2 weeks and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I thought like them as newlyweds, the way they're navigating being newlyweds, I really dug it. I thought that John Matthew, he always strikes me as a thoughtful character. You know, there was a time where he went like kind of like numb in the mind and dead in the mind, but that was only like one book that he did that. Yeah. He went to that extreme and then he came back, and he's always been like a thoughtful person. And with Xhex, he's always known that he has to let her fight. It's plausible that he wasn't prepared for the feelings of having, being a bonded male and having a shell-in, and then knowing that his adopted mother was killed and what his like adopted father is going through. And like, so like, for me, I could, even though I wanted to shake him, there's so many parts where I wanted to shake him. When she was in that room looking at him and all the brothers are there and they're like looking at him and she's looking at him like, are you going to defend me? Like he should have been like, what are you looking at? That's the appropriate response. Why are you looking at me? Yeah. I was like, oh, I mean, I felt that moment to the core. I think any woman I think can feel that moment 100%. To the core. And so, I thought that her being like, no, you know what, fuck this, I'm out, and going to get her old job back and moving into her old apartment, I felt that was justified for her character. I feel like that's what Xhex would do, because she's used to taking care of herself. If somebody's not going to stick up for her, she's going to stick up for her. And doing all that, and then it taking a year for him to like woo her back, and also taking some months for him to convince himself that, I don't have the right to take her agency away. And that's the one thing about all of these books that keeps coming back for me, with Xhex, with The Chosen, with Pain, because it's very like a patriarchal book or series, and we talked about The Chosen being free now, and The Chosen aren't free. Like when you look at Xhex and how all the guys are controlling her trying to control her actions now. And when you look at Layla feeding Throw, and them not ever telling her that you're feeding our enemy.
That was fucked up. That's our next topic.
Yeah,
that's super fucked up.
I won't go all the way into it, but like they're not giving them information, so they're not giving them the right to choose what they're doing. Yeah. They let her like,
because Layla still would have fed him.
Yeah, if they had asked her.
I think if they had asked her and told her the truth, she still would have done it.
I think she would have. But
they didn't give her a choice.
And she would have been protected later.
That was so fucked up.
It really was. And she even though she's free and she knows it, she throughout the whole book she talks about how she only has one purpose. She doesn't have she doesn't have the amount of the information to know what options are available to her. And even when she's like begging to be serviced in her needing, because she's like, if I have a baby, then I'll have a purpose. I'll have something.
It's mine.
Yeah, it's mine.
It'll be my own.
Me, and so. Yeah.
And same with Quinn. I thought that was a really nice moment of bonding for them and of like similar purpose, where they both feel untethered. And even though they're not in love, she's like, we will have something that is just ours, that no one can ever take away, and that we can raise the way we want, and we can love it, and it will love us. And I thought I know a lot of people were really annoyed about the Layla Quinn deciding to have a kid thing. I actually thought it made perfect sense.
I did too.
Because when you're alone and you feel like you have no family, like I thought them like creating this little family, I actually thought was really poignant a little sad, a little bittersweet, but I did really like that scene.
Well, also, like, so I did read in some people's reviews that they were like, oh, that feels contrived, that situation. I really didn't think it did. Over the course of all the books, you feel Quinn's angst for not being a part of his own family. Layla having nothing of her own, okay? Yep. Purely feeling that her purpose on the planet is to serve these other people. And so in a moment where she's thrown into her needing because No'one's needing, and Quinn is there, I think if the decision was impulsive, you know, she was like, it could be, you know, we could have this thing, whatever. And they do it very quickly. And for me, it only works in the scenario where they do it impulsively. I feel like if they're sitting and thinking about it and Quinn walked away and thought about it.
Yeah, like the next time I have a needing in 4 years, will you service me?
Then it doesn't work, you know? But Quinn knowing that if he had died out there with Score, he'd already gotten beat up, he was going to be alone. He had nobody, you know, or he felt he had nobody he was attached to, that he was disposable. It made total sense to me. And then he'd already had the vision of seeing his child, and he knew that the child would come through and Layla would come through. I felt like it worked in that spontaneous moment that it did. Yeah. And I also like it in the tool that later on it gives this gay couple the chance to be a parent, which you never see. Yeah. Because if couples are gay, then they have to go through the adoption process, you know? It's not as quick a thing. So this gives Blay and Quinn later the ability to be parents or whatever, and get that happily ever after with a kid, you know, secret baby.
Totally. Totally. Secret baby.
Secret baby. You know, with in a natural, organic way. So I thought it worked. But again, like, just going back to like the women, the agency of the women in this book, like you actually don't hear from many of the women in this book. You have No'one and you have Xhex, who are the main characters, but like you don't hear a lot from Beth and Marissa.
You literally only hear from the two of them, Layla, and then you have one scene with Marissa at Safe Place.
Yeah, and I think Jane for like a hot second. And
that was actually funny when Jane's like, I promise I won't tell Vicious that you thought I would look at you in a sexual way. I was like, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, but they weren't present in the book, and so a little bit felt like the female voice was not supported by sisterhood in this book, and I kind of wish that it was a little bit more.
Yep. So remember when like Bella was there and they all went to Bella, and then when when who was having a hard time? Who was having a hard time with when Marissa was having a hard time with the idea of Butch fighting, and they all went to her and they were like, look, this is what it means to be a wife of a brother. Like, join our club because we're a club. And they did not at all embrace No'one or try to befriend her. And I'm not saying she was actively like trying to mix with the people either. Yeah. But I felt like in the other books there was a little bit of like side sisterhood happening, and in this book, none. Yeah. Which could have been because they wanted the focus to be on like Xhex and No'one repairing their relationship. Because I actually really enjoyed the way that their relationship started to repair as well. And like Xhex starting to take her out on the motorcycle rides and like having her experience the world, and No'one apologizing and saying like, I think that you're wonderful and worthy, and I'm sorry that I was too weak to see that you could have been that. And like, I thought their development was quite nice.
Part of me thinks that like No'one is like, you ever have that one person in the group who like doesn't really join the group? They complain that nobody wants to let them in their group, but also they don't put themselves in a position to join the group. And they're always like, it's like that person who's always like, you know what? I make friends with boys just so much easier than girls, or girls don't like me. And you're like, well, you know, you don't really, put yourself out there or try or sometimes in a group of girls, they're just awkward, you know, like in general. Yeah. Because I understand, like as an adult, I have a lot of great girlfriends. As a kid, I didn't have I had one, a good girlfriend at a time, depending on what school I was at. But that was mostly because I was socially awkward. Like, you know what I mean? And so I didn't know how to I didn't know how to relate to girls in like a friendship setting. And so every girlfriend I ever had was also like me and socially awkward. Like every time I had that one best girlfriend, I was like, they had overly religious parents who would not let them go anywhere and do anything and social, so we spoke the same language, or whatever.
I totally feel that. I was always, had like a very small group of good friends. I did not, until like college and then now post-college, it was hard because I don't like cattiness at all. And like, I feel like women especially go through a real period of cattiness in like late grade school, middle school, early high school, sometimes late high school, depending. And that's like, I feel like very like trained into you by the media and trained into you by your like examples of other females in your life. And I was not about that. So I had like, once I found a few people that I was like, I love you guys, let's hang out every day and never talk to anyone else, because like, I don't want to deal with that nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want people spreading rumors. Like, I was like not willing to even engage in that, which in some ways is not a good thing, because like no one, like sometimes you have to engage and like deal with the bullshit to get the good stuff. So, but yeah, I felt like, I also feel like Layla, like none of them have reached out to Layla either.
Yeah.
Because she only ever, even the ones who like, she feeds like rage and all them and keeps them all alive. And they're not like, hey, you want to have tea with me? And like, you want to be my friend? They're just like, okay, peace out. Thanks for keeping them alive. Like, get the fuck out of here so we can have sex again.
Yeah.
And
I
just feel bad for Layla.
Yeah. It's lonely on the pedestal.
She's so lonely.
Yeah.
And I know we've only had now a couple books with score in them. And I actually thought this book I really liked, because I feel like I really liked the scene in the last book with Pain, where once he realized his mistake, he was like, oh, I've wronged you. I release all ideas that we have some sort of blood debt. I'll keep you safe. My bad. I'll let you go.
Yeah.
And in this book, I liked that they continued that evolution, because like, while he is the leader of the Band of Bastards, and while he is a badass asshole in a lot of ways, he's also not unredeemable.
Yeah.
And when he stabbed Thro, I was like, how the fuck are they going to come back from this? Because I assume you assume that he's going to have a book in the future. And how the fuck is he going to come back from stabbing his number 2 and literally gutting him and leaving him for lessers? And he like doesn't even care whether the Brotherhood or the lessers get there first. And but I liked that he was so remorseful and repentant and like basically like slashing his wrist to like bleed for him, and immediately gave him back like his dead sister's ashes, which he'd been holding over him for like hundreds of years. And I liked that, because I was like, if it didn't go to that far point, I was like, I don't feel like I'm gonna like him when he's in a love story.
Yeah. That's how I felt too. I was kind of like, when he did that to Thro, I was like, ooh, how do you come back from this? But I think what the redeeming quality of Score is that at every point when his ego bows up, right? When he goes, he tries to be the bloodletter, he tries to be that, it always backfires. Like when he takes Pain, he's like, you killed my father, how dare you, whatever. And then she's like, wait, that ain't your daddy, and I'm sorry, bro, but this, he's like, well, shit, okay. And he doesn't double down on a bad idea. And I think that's the thing. I can redeem anybody who has a bad idea and is quickly like, oof, so didn't think that out. We're just gonna take several steps back, rework this, and And I like that he was like, I'm not the bloodletter. He's like, I've been trying to be this whole time to step into that, but he was not even my father. He's like, that's not who I am. And when he does that thing to Thro, and he is repentant and he's cutting himself, he's like, it is a physical representation of what he's doing to me, which is like resurrecting a new, being reborn in a way, where he's decided that he no longer wants to lead with that ego first, or whatnot. And so that really was the thing that you were like, oh. And I also like the scene where they give back the sister's ashes and they tell Thro, we don't even want the information you've gathered. And Thro's like, bitch, you gutted me, sent me in there, and you don't want my information? Like, I was like, I was like, that would be my reaction too. I was like, wait. Oh, because you feel bad now? Oh,
yeah. And then he like has cut himself so much and hasn't been eating, so he almost dies. And then Thro has to call upon Layla to save him. I actually thought that scene was really interesting. So first of all, obviously there was some sort of connection between Score and Layla, so that makes me think they're going to be in the book together. I feel a little bit bad for Thro because he was like, she's so heavenly and beautiful, and like his best friend is going to get her, presumably. But I did think that it was really interesting that he's like, I didn't even know if it would work, but he just like sat there and prayed to her and thought about her. And she's like, well, I heard him calling, so I went. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, because we don't really get, like, we know they like call the Chosen from the other side, but we don't really, I always imagined it more as like a telephone sort of situation. Not like calling literally, but more like you have some sort of bond because of the brotherhood. They can like talk to the Chosen or whatever.
Yeah.
That it was kind of interesting that like anyone could pray to her, who she's like been around, and she could hear their call. And I also thought the scene like where she is describing how she fed him, and she's like, yeah, but he was one of your soldiers. And they're like, what? I fed his other soldier, and he was in dire need, so I fed him. I told him he should come to the mansion to get worked on, but he was stubborn and he wouldn't come. And like, I just think her innocence about like, Quinn's like, is that why you've been hanging around the mansion? She's like, well, I was hoping to run into him. And I'm like, you guys have ripped this innocence from her. Bastards.
It's like she can't win at every turn. I think that's why when she wants the baby, you're like, give her the baby. Like,
give her the baby.
Because she can't win. Like, they don't tell her anything. They don't treat her like a human. She's treated purely as a vessel, like on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. And like, as she's talking, I love how it starts with like, okay, you can't tell anybody, and they're like, we swear we're not going to tell anybody. And then at the end, it's like they're telling the king, and it's treason, and she has no idea what's going to happen. And they're like, don't worry, we're going to defend you. And she's like, crap, like she's like,
and Wrath's like, I actually liked Wrath in that scene though, when he's like, did you do it on purpose? She's like, no, of course not. And he's like, then you've done nothing wrong. This was on us. And I was like, well, at least Wrath realizes that they're a bunch of dickheads. Like,
But like for a minute, she thought everything that was of value to her was gone. The like 2 things that she could do on the planet were gone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. And how helpless is that? Like,
it's scary.
I was like, I felt so bad for her because I know like, she literally only has one job. It's to feed brothers. She's like, I'm doing it. These guys out here, they're injured. I'm doing it. And they're like, ooh. So those ones, you shouldn't have done that. And it's like, oh, man. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I want to see the Chosen get more respect in these future books.
I agree.
I'm
hoping that they... Well, so obviously Layla is going to have her own book, but I assume that some of the other Chosen are going to have their own books too.
I feel like they got to, but they're not really talking about Selena and them yet.
Yeah, they haven't talked about them that much, but I assume some of the other ones are going to have to, because you can't always have them be humans. Like, they have to have some vampire matings. And like, everyone hates the Glymera, so I assume most of them, I mean, maybe some of the females in the future will be like Bella and Marissa, who are like sort of rebelling against the Glymera restrictions.
Well, but also, like, they're setting it up now because a lot of the Glymera have been killed at this point. Like, Score went around.
Or are gone, yeah.
Yeah, are gone. They're fled, whatever. And so I feel like the kind of New World Order type thing where, like, the new people coming up in the Glymera, are not going to be kind of the old ways. They're going to have new ideas and a new mind, and Rev, being in charge of everything, I think is going to allow for a new consciousness to kind of come into play. And so I'm interested to see what that that looks like. I'm interested to see more about what Rev is doing in terms of his leadership role as well.
Rev and the Sympaths, you mean?
Yeah, like Rev with the Sympaths and
Wrath with the
Brotherhood. Like to see how they bring that all together.
Yeah, totally. I want to talk about only one short other thing.
Okay.
And that is Layla, when she is feeding Score, says that I wanted to feel his lips pressed against my skin. And so she lets him drink, like, and puts her wrist all the way into his mouth. And she's like, and I don't do that with any of the other brothers, not even Quinn. And I was like, what? Did you catch that line?
Yeah, I did catch that.
I was like, that makes no fucking sense. Because everyone has to pierce you with their fangs and drink from you. So
I don't know how else you put your wrist in someone's mouth. It's like they bite
I don't think she does. I think the way it seemed to me was that she's like dribbling blood over their mouth.
See, that don't make any sense to me because in other books I feel like they very much have said that people have bit into her wrist or whatever. You only dribble into someone's mouth if they're so injured that they can't drink themselves. That's the only time you ever hear that happening. So maybe I don't know.
And as soon as they can eat, they immediately latch on. Yeah. Because here's the thing. If she could just do that, she could just slit her wrist, bleed into a cup, and hand it to Tohr. Yeah. Like, it wouldn't be that hard for him to eat if you didn't have to actually feed. The whole point is that you have to feed from someone. Yeah. So she says, I'll tell you the exact line.
I feel like it's like a little. I feel like sometimes there's these little revisionist moments where they're trying to make something special, so they say like, "Oh, we've never done this before." It's like when you tell your boyfriend that like he's your first, and you tell the next one he's your first, and then you tell the next one he's also your first.
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready here? Yeah. Here it is. Compelled by something she was disinclined to argue with, she lowered her arm until his mouth brushed her wrist. This was something she never did with the other males, even Quinn at this point, but she wanted to know what it felt like. She wanted to know what it felt like, this soldier's mouth upon her skin. And I was like, I love the imagery. I love the eroticism. Also, everyone else is drinking from your wrist. This makes no fucking sense. Yeah. That's the final point I wanted to make about this book. What do you think, Shani?
Okay, so I'm ready to get into our ratings for this book, Bridget. So what did you think of our heroine?
I gave her 4 stars. I really liked No'one. I did not like the name Autumn, but I liked her. I thought she had a nice, quiet strength. I liked her sort of journey of learning emotions, learning about the world, becoming better acquainted with Xhex and like forgiving her, and sort of like I liked that by the end she stood up to him and was like, our cycle is complete. Last time it was about my selfishness, this time it's about your selfishness. Now we're done. And yeah, so I liked her. I gave her 4 stars. I didn't love her, but I liked her. And maybe it was 3 stars, but I gave her 4, so I'm sticking with 4.
I actually went back and forth between 3 and 4, but I ended up giving her 4 purely because of how she stuck up for herself at the end. I could see her being like that martyr throughout the book, but at the end being like, nah, not today. Like, we done with all that. I have a new name now, say my name, and like, say my name, bitch. Say it like, so I gave her a 4 because she stuck up for herself. And honestly, I rated her higher than I rated this book in its entirety.
I did too.
Yeah. And then like for Tohr, I gave him a 3 because he annoyed me. I was like, I don't know what's happening here. I'm gonna need you to get yourself together. We're gonna need to revisit this in another book. That's how I felt about Tohr. I gave him a 3. I gave this whole book a 3. I don't know. What'd you give Tohr?
I said that in earlier books, I would have said 4 or 5, Shani. I thought he was great. I thought he was strong. I loved the way he was parenting John Matthew and like the rest of the Brotherhood. In this book, he was a 2 for me. He was such an idiot for so long. Hello, duh, you're the problem. She's gone, brah. Like, let her go. And he was way fucking harsh to No'one more than once. And I did not like that at all. Yeah. I said that he was a Mick dummy, a Mick sad face, and a Mick butthead.
I said he a Mick meh, he aight. Also, okay, so like the sex in this book for me, I felt like everything was vanilla. However,
sure, there
were some moments in this book where I was just like, damn. Okay, so like, when No'one goes into her kneading, and then Xhex, and then John Matthew gets too close to her. And then Xhex comes knocking on his door, and he's like, give me a minute. I'll catch you in a little bit. And she walks in to just see him like furiously masturbating, and him being like, yo, get out of here. And she's like, nah. Like, or whatever.
I'll stay. Thank you.
I'll stay. And then she was like, oh no, like I will be partaking of this. Thank you very much. And then there's this point in when they're like messing around where she's like, it's like, with a moan, she arched and rolled her hips. Come all over me, she said, through gritted teeth. And I was like, yes, if that girl says to come all over her, you better come all over her. You better
Hell yes.
It better happen.
Yes.
Don't tell her no if she says she wants it.
Yes. She can always shower later and regret it later. But if she wants it right then, you do it.
You do it. Don't you tell her no.
Yeah, I thought there were some good steamy vanilla sex scenes. I even thought some of the sex scenes between Tohr and No'one were okay.
Yeah.
I did not like that he was withholding the D for so long because, I think that's fucking annoying. Even though in this case he wasn't withholding it or solely because he thought that she wasn't ready. It was because of Wellesley's memory. So I guess that's a little bit more forgivable.
What about the cuddling? When they were like, oh, they laid in the bed.
He took so long to kiss her, too.
Yeah, like, so wait, this whole time he's been fingering her, doing all this stuff, and then afterwards
no kissing.
Cuddling her? That's like, in like kink and stuff, that's kind of considered torturing somebody, like, and not in a good kinky way. Like, it's considered to be like
it's like cruel because
cruel. Because there's no aftercare of something that happens. And like aftercare is not something that just needs to happen in kink. It needs to happen with everybody. That's why you've always seen these like sex scenes where people get up and leave afterwards and it feels gritty or dirty. Why? Because even in a normal vanilla sex situation, there needs to be an aftercaring of people's emotions and whatever. And so I was like, so she's getting all these new experiences that she's never had before. She's actually orgasming. She's actually getting in tune with her body and these things. And then afterwards, she just has this guy who falls asleep next to her and doesn't touch her in any affectionate way. I was like, that sounds like a bitch move, bruh. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's what she says at the end. This was all about you. You're selfish. Like, it was a bitch move. It was a bitch move. It was just a bitch move. He's a bitch. I hate this. He was a bitchy bitch in this book. That brings me to my favorite review by Princess Undercover. She rated it 1 star. She lowered it to 1 star because she got reminded of how disappointed she was. It was 2 stars. She lowered it down. She said, very disappointed. I am a huge J.R. Ward fan. I was really looking forward to Tohr's story. If anyone deserves a happy ending, it's Tohr. But what the hell? This book is 2 stars because I love J.R.'s writing style, the other characters that we follow and their continued development. But the main story, I'd give this something closer to 1. It's that bad. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. Like, I gave it a 2 stars, but the only reason I gave it 2 is because so many other good things happen. But their main storyline was just so sad. And I thought it was also really sad to her point of, Tohr of everyone deserves some fucking happiness. And I don't feel like he got any happiness in this book. I feel like he got like okayness. And I think that's really sad. I also think it's really sad as like a thought or precedent. So yeah, maybe he might not be a bonded male in the future, but to think that someone who is a widow can never be happy again, I think it's just a really sad thing in general. And also not true, because clearly lots of people are happy with second spouses, but I just thought it was sad.
And I felt like the basis was there to argue that she was his first love, Yeah. So I thought that this book was going a totally different direction by the way it started. When she took the robe and washed it, that set the tone for me as to
I know, that scene was so lovely.
And then it took a hard left. Like a hard left.
At the pool. Took a hard left at the pool. And I was like, what is happening?
That pool scene could have been so good. Like,
I know.
It could have been so good.
Like, what if he had, like, walked away speechless? She had been embarrassed. She tried to find him. He ran away. And then he was in his room and jerked it to her because he couldn't help himself. And that's the beginning. I was like, thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.
I'm giving you a round of applause over here. Okay. Like,
thank you.
I mean, fan fiction. But like, yes,
yeah.
I felt like that scene could have been better. I would have liked if he had secretly watched her in the pool and masturbated, jerked that shit off. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, that's too far for the opening of him.
I thought that would have been nice.
I think it would have been.
And he could have felt bad for it. Like afterwards, he could have been like, "Oh man, like Wellesley's memory hashtag
like
Wellesley
covered
for life."
in cum.
You know what I mean? Just like shame. I felt like he could do that and feel the shame from all counts. He could feel shame because of Wellesley. He could be shamed because he totally just peeping Tom this No'one or whatever.
I feel like that's fucking creepy though, because she did get stolen from someone who saw her through a window and then stole her. So that might have been too creepy.
But then all his shame would be justified. He could probably think he's no better than the empath who took her. I mean, it would have just made his emotional grid just, it would have flushed it all out. I would have accepted that, or I would have even accepted him having a boner that he doesn't touch, but he can't get to go away or whatever, and he just watches her. I would have accepted that too. You know what I mean? And then maybe she catches a glimpse of him as he's leaving. Like there are so many ways I could have gone. But it went the worst way. It went the worst.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
Tell me your review, Shani.
Okay, so my review is from Tekla, who on Goodreads, and she rated it was okay, right? So that's the title. And so I just consolidated. She wrote a 10-page book about how she felt about this book, and I would recommend you go read it because it's hysterical and it's filled with
so funny
gifs, And so I just put together 2 little pieces that I liked, which was, it started, just a fair warning, this book butt fucked me raw without lube. Spoiler, pun intended, and destroyed my heart and sanity. My feelings are all over the place and I need to vent. Cursing, spoilers, and inappropriate gifs ahead. And there are. I mean, this was the most entertaining review,
I think.
So
funny.
Isn't it?
I mean, it's basically like if we had typed out this whole podcast into a review on Goodreads.
Yeah,
that's what it would be.
It's so good. So if you can find this, like, go read it. It's one of the top reviews. And then it says, I'm actually so disappointed in Ward. I used to believe in her. I trusted her 100%. But she's been dragging out their stories for far too long and adding ridiculous plot devices to hold them back. Don't bullshit me anymore with, they aren't ready. They are, and they were. You made Tohr be ready and stuffed a whole year into a book to make it happen. So shut the fuck up and give us Quay already. And I was like, yes. Thank you, because it took way too long. Like, I did like that the book had breadth, but it took way too long for them to figure out what was happening in this book. And Wellesley sat in the fade for a whole nother, and in the in-between for a whole nother year, all sad and gray with her baby. And I was like, he punked out. I don't like a pab. And I was like, Tohr, get it together.
Yeah, he was a pushy-ass bitch, for sure.
The best thing about this book is that we're done reading it and we can get to the next one because I'm ready for Blay and Quinn.
Lover at last.
I'm with it. I'm like,
okay, Shani.
Yes.
I know I said this in the last review, but I have to say it again. It bears saying again. If this is not good, I am going to be devastated.
I know.
I am literally going to be the most sad Bridget that you've ever seen. The saddest of the sad Bridgets. You guys will hear it in my voice. I will be so depressed. Because I recall being so swooned in this. I just recall loving it so much. And if I don't love it as much, if this is not a 5-star,
Bridget,
it's gonna be tough.
I hate to break it to you, but we've been thrown so many curveballs now that we're actually reading the book how it was meant to be read.
True. True.
We were jerks before. We were just skipping to the sex and romance. Okay.
That's true.
And so now I have no faith in the fact that I'm going to love this next book. I have even like my feelings for Quinn have changed. And before.
Didn't you feel like he was much better in this book though than in the last one?
Yes, because he wasn't like going hemming and hawing and doing whatever. And I felt like he was being responsible. I felt like he grew up. Yeah, like I felt like I saw him growing in this book. Even I like that he gives Layla the baby. Like even though I know he wants something for him, he knows they have a friendship now, and it's kind of like it's kind of like when your friends are lesbians and you know that they'll have a hard time trying to go through adoption or in vitro or this or that, and you're like, look, I'll give them the D. That's all they need. Like him gifting that to her, I was like, I liked it. I thought it was, even though it was impulsive, I thought it was really nice of him and just kind of shows a little bit more growth. So I'm ready. I'm ready
too.
Quay. Okay, wait. Quay or Blinn?
I like Blinn better, but Quay is what's on the internet.
It is. Quay is what's on the internet, but I actually like Blinn because I am like, oh, Quay,
I think
Quinn.
Blinn is so cute.
Yeah.
Blinn.
I don't know. I'm a ship Blinn.
But Quay's what's on the internet. All right, dear listeners, until next time, may your books be your lover.
And your hand, your best friend.
Especially in these times of Corona where you are trapped in your home.
Oof.
I hope that you are enjoying your hand. Or if you have a partner in the home with you, enjoying your hand and your partner.
Simultaneously.
Maybe simultaneously. Maybe one after another. Maybe one every other day. Who knows what your situation is. But I hope that you are taking care of yourself. And even though there's some anxiety, you relieve that tension with some orgasms. Be well.
Yowza.
Thanks for listening.
Subscribe to our channel to get new episodes, clips, and more.
And click here to watch our previous reviews and author interviews.